Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. Our guest on this week's episode is Tal Brody. Tal is a legend of basketball in Israel. So much so, he's called Mr. Basketball by everyone who knows his history. It was a huge thrill for me to chat with Tal on this episode. Tal was born in New Jersey and played college basketball at the University of Illinois. He graduated in 1965 and was the 12th pick by the Baltimore Bullets in the 1965 NBA draft. However, Tal's destiny was not to play in the NBA. His eyes were opened during a trip to Israel with the U.S. team during the 1965 Maccabi Games, and Tal decided to forgo an NBA career and play in Israel with Maccabi Tel Aviv. Tal only planned to play 1 year in Israel, but stayed for a second year, then returned to the U.S. to complete his master's degree and fulfill his military obligation. Tal then returned to Israel for good, becoming a citizen and elevating the game of basketball to levels no one could have dreamed of. In 1973, his Maccabi Tel Aviv team did the unthinkable. They beat the powerful Soviet Red Army team, CSKA Moscow, in the semifinal game of the FIBA Champions Cup and went on to win the European Championship. Truly unbelievable. These were very, very charged and politically explosive times in the history of the region. Israel was fighting for its very survival. It's almost impossible to realize today how the game of basketball and the accomplishment of Tal and his Maccabi team gave hope and promise to an entire population. As Tal said so famously after beating the Soviets, Israeli basketball and truly the entire state of Israel was, quote, on the map. Tal is beyond a legend in Israel. Following his retirement from the game, he went on to a successful career in business, dabbled in politics, and continues today as Israel's goodwill ambassador through the sport he loves. Tal's accomplishments and accolades are incredible. The icing on the cake of his life and career would be enshrinement into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame this year. All of us at Legends of Sport hope this well-deserved and, frankly, overdue honor happens for Tal this summer in Springfield. We will be there. Big thanks to Tal for taking the time for this interview, which happened as missiles were falling on his city of Tel Aviv. Big thanks also to our friend and filmmaker Danny Menken for helping to make this interview possible. Danny's film On the Map is terrific and a must-see by any basketball or sports fan. Enjoy this conversation with Mr. Basketball, Tal Brody, and as always, I'll see you on the backside. I have to officially welcome you to the Legends of Sport podcast. I know it's a really, to say the least, a really tense time in Israel right now. When isn't it a tense time in Israel, but especially now?
Well,
And I really appreciate you coming on, Tal, and wanting to, do this interview, and hopefully we'll get the whole thing done without you having to run to the safe room. So,
my wife will yell out "Tal," and that means that we either got about 8 to 10 minutes if it's coming from Iran,
yeah.
to get organized. But if it's coming from the north, from Hezbollah, we have about a minute and a half.
Well, Tal, it's so great to have you on the podcast, and congratulations on being a finalist again for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to get into that with you. You and I met briefly in 2022. You might remember at the On the Map, Danny Menken's great film
Danny with
about
the
you
movie.
and the great Maccabi team. I think it was 2022 in Beverly Hills, and I actually have a cherished photo of the two of us together at the red carpet there. But it's so great to see you. I've seen you at various NBA events over the years. So, Tal, I'm not going to run off all of your accomplishments because it's literally 2 pages here. But, just to be known as Mr. Basketball, I think kind of sums up everything. But I do want to talk first about the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You're a finalist again. It kind of honestly blows my mind that you're not already in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know who could be more accomplished than you at the game of basketball. Um, how is it feeling to you? Like I was talking to Danny Menken yesterday, and he said that he felt that for you to get into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame would be the last missing piece of the puzzle of your iconic basketball career. Do you agree with that?
Well, in some ways, yes,
Uh-huh.
but I do have to say it. First of all, it's to be an honor to be on the nominating list.
Mm-hmm.
And on the nominating list, before me, this is about the sixth year, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 5 or 6 years when Yao Ming and Dina Raja and
Uh-huh.
Vlade Divac and Tony Kokic
Yeah.
are before me. I don't have any problem with that, but because that was like the international James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, and then
Mm-hmm.
they changed it and they added on different categories and they put it all in together. But
Mm-hmm.
still, when I was notified that I'm a finalist last year, I thought it's a great honor to be two of the 17 or 20 people that are nominated, and
Mm-hmm.
and it is a great honor, and that's the way I look at it. And
Yeah.
and people always say, well, Tal, look, how do you feel with, you've been here for almost well, 50, over 50 years in Israel,
Yeah.
and they always ask me, why did you give up the NBA?
Uh-huh.
And I always remind them, well, the NBA before David Stern, it was like for Rick Barry and Billy Cunningham and Bill Bradley,
Yeah.
for all of us to get a contract for the NBA. And at that time, it was Sporting News that said you're one of the 10 best in the coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, well, Wilt Chamberlain's was salary to be 12.5% of Wilt Chamberlain's salary.
Yeah.
I mean, and the NBA to be the highest salary, that's great.
Yeah.
But Wilt Chamberlain's salary was $100,000 a year. Now, who can you compare that to? Let's
Yeah.
say Steph Curry or Jason from Boston. I
They're
mean,
almost making that.
55 million.
Yeah.
That's not bad. But
It's
at that
crazy.
time,
Yeah.
at that time it was different. And, taking that step to go to Israel, and after the seventh Maccabi games, when they presented me with a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
that basketball in Israel, they said, well, soccer is the most popular sport. And, we were run by the British for many years. And, basketball is not that popular in Israel. And we would like to make it a change. And we think that you can be a fellow that can, you know, take us to a different level, take us to a different place. And the conditions, let me tell you, Andrew, they were primitive. We played outdoors in the wind and sandstorms, got rained out in the middle of cow pastures. There weren't any indoor stadiums. And I'm coming from Illinois
Yeah.
with 16,600 in a game in the Assembly Hall. Now it's called the State Farm Hall.
Mhm.
I'm very happy to see Illinois is up there within the top 10 or
Yeah.
15
Not
teams this
bad.
year.
Not bad. Yeah.
So it was a challenge more than the monetary benefit to play in the NBA at that period of time. We're
Hmm.
talking about 1965,
Sure.
66.
Yeah.
So I only agreed to come for 1 year and then to go back. It
Mhm.
was, I think, a 12th in the draft at that time. And Baltimore, it was the Baltimore Bullets before they changed to the Washington Wizards.
Hmm.
And it was an agreement for 1 year.
Mm.
And that 1 year was so ecstatic. And I saw that what was happening because the game of basketball, I would take these reels of Converse highlight films and with a projector when they had the reels and have let's play basketball all over Israel to get and change the mentality to basketball.
Yeah.
And it was a job, but I loved doing it because I saw when we started to play in the European games, and I believed in my ability to make a change.
Uh-huh.
And when we start winning against the best teams in East Europe and West Europe, and
Yeah.
my first year we go to the finals of the Cup of Cups of Europe, from a team that never got past the first round of the
Yeah.
European Championships.
Great.
So as we go along, when I look at it today, I feel so good when we have three Israelis playing in the NBA,
Yeah.
two two with the Brooklyn Nets, and then
Uh-huh.
Danny Avdija
Yeah.
playing with Portland and doing a great job with Portland. But we
Yeah.
also have more than 10 Israeli girls playing college basketball today. And we have Omer Mayer with Purdue, which they're doing very good. And Yorden Garzon, that she's playing with, she played with Indiana. They took her over to Maryland last year. She changed. But
Hmm.
I see what has been happening, and I feel so good about that. So
Hmm.
that's that's part of what that nomination more or less because it changed the whole basketball in Israel to make it the number one achievement sport in a country that is around the love of soccer all over the Europe and all over the world,
Yeah.
so
Do you feel personally responsible for I mean, I can't, it's a stupid question because of course you do. Because basketball, as you say, was a way down, not even a secondary sport. It wasn't even a thought of sport in Israel before you came. Do you feel with the success of everything that happened during your time and now in this modern time with the players in the NBA and the women you're talking about, that you are personally responsible for that, Tal? I mean, I know you're a modest
well,
guy, but
you want me to talk about myself? I
no,
don't
but I
wanna,
mean,
you're
look,
pushing me to say things which usually don't come out of me,
well,
but
but you could say, I mean, I
uh,
know you're going to say it in a modest and humble way, but granted, you
well,
had to have been part of that incredible explosion of basketball.
well, I would say it, say this way. Up
Mhm.
to today,
Yeah.
which today I'm already if I we also we have a way when you get 80 you get a note from the Social Security that you don't have to stand in line anymore. So I'm also free from standing in line
That's a good
plus
one.
2 years, so that's
Yeah.
82. Free from standing in line plus 82 or
Right.
plus 2.
Right.
So at 82, you can say things sometimes you wouldn't say all your career for sure. I would never say
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
And after,
Yeah.
of course, because, up to today, I'm still teaching basketball. I'm still talking about basketball. I'm passing around. It's like Michael Jordan's last dance. I'm passing on to the next generations
Hmm.
about the love of the game,
Hmm.
about the personality that you have to develop along with everything that has to do with learning the fundamentals from the coaches.
Yeah.
But it's your character, it's not any less important.
Right.
You see many coaches in the NBA when their trades are going on, they don't take players if their characters are not uh, go with the chemistry of all the other players.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I'm still doing that at 82, believe, and I
Yeah.
love doing it, and I really feel that change,
Yeah.
in the whole basketball programs. I see the
Uh-huh.
basketball schools. I built a basketball school from zero in Herzliya. It's called B'nai Herzliya, the Sons of Herzliya. We
Hmm.
have over 1,200 girls and boys in the program.
Hmm.
And out of all the clubs in Israel, this was selected as the best program and got an honor for it. And I'm associated with Maccabi Tel Aviv from the first day in Israel until today. And I see what has happened with the Maccabi Tel Aviv club.
Sure.
After winning the first European championship, which they made that whole movie around in 77. And in that movie, my friend from Billy Walton, when we played together with the USA team in the World
Sure.
Championships in 1970,
Yeah.
and unfortunately passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But
One of my dear
but
friends too. Yes.
from that time on, it's just Maccabi Tel Aviv, we won in 1977, the first time the European Basketball Championship. And that was for me,
Yeah.
on the way to retirement, to do that was exceptional. Then to hear Billy Walton say in 1977, He was the MVP, most valuable player.
Hmm.
And with the Portland Trailblazers, we won the NBA championship. And I was never so proud that my roommate in the World Championship, Tal Brody,
Yeah.
as captain of Maccabi Tel Aviv,
Yeah.
won the first time the European Championship, for Israel simultaneously. And
Yeah.
since that time, we already won 6 times the European basketball championships. And
Incredible.
so
Yeah.
I've seen what has happened. I'm going back to your question,
Yeah.
and I say, I've seen what has happened in all the change and all the development of boys basketball, building basketball schools all over Israel, part of the
Hmm.
regular program of schools.
Hmm.
We have sport classes in the schools, which the best athletes go into a sport class.
Hmm.
And this is a country where education is still on the top, but
Hmm.
still sport was not in the mentality of the Jewish nation,
Right.
especially the many of the Jewish nation that came from Europe
Hmm.
during the Holocaust and everything. And here all this has changed, and I've been a part of that change.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing the same, but not only in Israel. I've been speaking all over the world and going with that movie On the Map,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
from Sao Paulo to Brazil and Mexico City to China.
Yeah.
And I sit in the back and all
Yeah.
through the United States in the film festival, and I sit in the back of the movie and I'm waiting. I see, why doesn't people aren't talking? Why are they not looking at their computers?
Uh-huh.
And when the movie ends, nobody goes to the bathroom. So I have to say, well, before I speak, can I go to the bathroom a second?
That's
And
funny.
so
Yeah.
this is everything which embodies,
Yeah.
most likely, as I say, that honor to be in the finalist in the NBA, in the James Naismith Basketball Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
Well, for sure. I mean, it's funny you mentioned taking on the map all over the world and screening it. I don't know, probably how many hundreds of times you've seen that film with an audience.
Hundreds,
And
all over the world.
Danny Menken had a great quote yesterday. He said that that to get you out of the theater, he had to promise to take you to get ice cream because that's the only way that he would get you to not see the film
Yeah,
for like the 300th time. Tal, as we do with everybody on the podcast, and we've been doing over 200 interviews over 8 years, I got to go back to where it all started for you, right? And it all started in Trenton, New Jersey. I mean,
exactly.
you're born a Jewish kid in Trenton, New Jersey. Um, Never really ventured too far out of New Jersey, just like I never really ventured too far out of Brooklyn, where I grew up. I had an American Jewish upbringing, which was, it's kind of like I call it like flyby Judaism. I mean, like you drive by the shul, you say, "Oh, I'll see you," at High Holy Days. We'd light a few candles, but there wasn't a lot of sort of religious and real. There really wasn't any spiritualness in my family. I mean, we knew we were Jewish. There was obviously family history. My family came from Russia. Um, but what was it like for you growing up as a young Jewish guy in Trenton, New Jersey? You played basketball at your local JCC. That's where you kind of, I guess, got the bug, just like Kobe did, when he grew up and played in the JCC in suburban Philadelphia to hone his skills. Um, what was that like? And then please take me into that first trip to Israel and how your eyes were opened from being there that first time.
Okay. First of all, as I said, growing up in Trenton, New Jersey,
Yeah.
we had more basketball courts on the corners than when you see today, where you have bars on the corners. But today you had more basketball courts on every corner, and also
Yeah.
in the churches. Always had attached. The churches had basketball courts. A lot of times, Holy Cross and the different churches had
Hmm.
also basketball courts. So
Hmm.
I started out playing in the Biddy Basketball League, JCC in Trenton, but I
Hmm.
also played on Saturdays in the Police Athletic League and in the middle of the week with the Boys Club League. We had a lot of social activities through the municipalities, through the Jewish Community Center.
Hmm.
And in the States, even with Biddy Basketball in the Trenton Times and the Trentonian, they would write about Biddy basketball. Who writes about Biddy basketball
Right.
in the paper today? I mean,
Yeah.
and that and then I sort of got the message from the coaches that I'm okay, and
Mm-hmm.
so I kept going with that.
Mm-hmm.
And one day my father caught me playing cards with the guys in the alley and everything. He said, "Tal, either you're going to play basketball or you're going to play cards. If you're going to play cards, I'm going to break your fingers and whatnot, and give you a spanking and whatnot that you'll never forget,
I love it.
or keep going with what you want to do." And be, if you're going to do it good, or don't do it at all. So concentrate. And that's what I started to do.
Yeah.
And then I was very lucky that I had a very good high school basketball coach, Freddie
Mm-hmm.
Price.
Mm-hmm.
He would come to see the junior high games all around the city.
Mm-hmm.
And he put the best players in the junior high league. In the first practices, he told us, all you guys are coming from different communities. Tal is coming. Actually, I was coming from a more or less a Christian community, but as he was said that, okay, everybody's coming from junior one, junior two, three, and four, and five. You got a black community, you got an Asian community, you have a Greek Orthodox community,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have too many Muslims in the city at that time. But
Yeah.
let's say if they're Muslim, there would have been a Muslim community.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody in the world say, when people go to communities. I remember I was in the LA All-Star Weekend. Every place we played, we passed a Chinese neighborhood, a Russian neighborhood, a North Korean neighborhood,
Right.
a
Right.
Jewish neighborhood, all these neighborhoods, but nobody said anything. They called it apartheid. That's, people want to live together, where they want to live
Right.
and they feel good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so
And
anyway,
basketball kind of was a bonding thing
yeah,
for the
that's what
different.
he
That
said.
that's what it was
Yeah,
for me too, growing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said you have to bond,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it was a majority. We had a majority black team. It was all of it was all African American teams. And
Mhm.
one of the reason I didn't go down south to play
Mhm.
was because the guys that we won the New Jersey State Championship,
Mhm.
and you said never got out of New Jersey. The only way I got out of New Jersey was with our guys.
Yeah.
It was a dominantly black team. We would go to play in Long Beach and Long Island, Manhattan Beach, or Philadelphia in the Schuylkill Express,
Yeah.
Wally Jones in that period of time, and in the summer leagues in Asbury Park also. And I
Wow.
went to, and then in Claire B's Camp All American, Pick Picarella,
Yeah.
and then Dean Smith would come, Frank McGuire would come, Bobby Knight was all the
Wow.
time there.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
all this was in my background from the university. I chose the University of Illinois because when I went down to visit the South at that time, there was segregation,
Mhm.
and when I went to go to the bathroom, they said, "Hey, you can't go there. That's the black bathroom. You have to go to the white bathroom."
Uh,
And I said to myself, "I can't. I'm not going to go. I can't. How could I go down there? All my best friends now
right.
were the guys I played with on the team, And so
Sure.
I chose the University of Illinois.
Mhm.
They had a great team coming in. They were looking for an Eastern guard. And then there was a guy, Howie, oh, he was very famous. He
I
had the
don't remember.
five-star basketball
Oh
camp.
yes, yeah, of course. Which was
Yeah,
the most prestigious showcase at the
yeah.
time. Yes, right.
So Luke Carnesecca
Uh-huh. Yeah.
took our center,
Uh-huh.
and he was filled with guards. And University of Illinois wanted an Eastern guard to run the team, and to that time the guards didn't suit so much from the outside. We
Yeah.
really did fast breaks. We had to pass the ball to the centers. But
Yeah, right.
Steph Curry changed all that,
Yeah, of
all over
course.
the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
over
yeah.
the world, he's going to be the father of the three-point shot, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Nobody will
know,
ever match that, I don't think.
no,
But
no,
but
no.
but then Tal,
So
so then you get drafted by the Baltimore Bullets, as you said,
bullets, right?
12th pick in the NBA draft in 19 what 65, and
65.
and you had your sights. I would assume you had your
My
sights on going into the
dream.
NBA.
It
So
was a dream.
so you make this trip to Israel, right? In what 1968?
60, no, 1965 during
Uh-huh.
the summer.
Oh, during
I
66.
went,
I'm sorry,
yeah, I went through
67.
the rookie camp at
Right.
Baltimore. They got me a nice apartment there, and it was in
Yeah.
the summer.
Yeah.
And with Gus Johnson and
Uh-huh.
Earl Monroe and that group of guys,
Hmm.
and the Maccabi games. And I asked Abe Poland and Buddy Jeanette if I could go to Israel for it's only for 10 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And those 10 days changed my dream of playing in the NBA to a challenge of building a basketball program and making Israel, you can say, on the map from
Well,
basketball.
see, but that's so interesting to me, Tal, the way you put that, because it wasn't about you. Like, what you could have said, well, I saw like I had a future there and I could, you know, make more money there and blah blah blah. No, you saw it as a mission, like that some kind of divine intervention put you in Israel to literally elevate the program, which you did, but turn the country into, you gave the country some hope, and at a very, very difficult time with the 67 war coming and the whole thing. And, I just love the humility of the way you said that. And I think it's a beautiful thing that young
Well,
people should really think about, like, what is their true mission in life and not be so self-serving. You know what I mean?
well, that's why when you asked me the questions in the beginning, I feel so good about this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
not only Maccabi Tel Aviv is playing in the EuroLeague, we have the other team, Hapoel Tel Aviv,
Uh-huh.
that's also playing in the
Yeah.
EuroLeague.
Right.
And next year, we could have our third Israeli team within the best teams in Europe playing
That's
against the,
incredible.
you
That's
know,
crazy.
I mean, it's unbelievable when I
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
and I see everything that's been happening. I'm very proud of that. I mean,
Of course. Of
you
course.
know, I see, I know where we were.
Uh-huh.
And I know the conditions when I agreed to go there, and how
Yeah.
was the league at that time? It
Sure.
was unbelievable primitive.
Incredible.
More primitive than primitive,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But Tal, do you remember a moment going back that, so many years? Do you remember a moment when you're in Israel and, with every intention to go back and play, for the Baltimore Bullets of the NBA and have a career and live in America, where you like, and there was because I remember as a photographer the epiphany that I had that this is what I wanted to make my career. I can remember it was 60 something years ago. But do you remember that moment when you were in Israel and you just said, you know what? This is my life's mission. This is going to change. This moment has changed my life. Do you remember that when that happened?
It, I remember that, and I've been through, I can't even count the amount of intifadas and wars that I've been through in this
Right.
country since, and I never left since the 6 Days War. It's still been, even
Yeah.
that I was here. But if you would see a basketball and come to Israel and see what a basketball game is,
Mm-hmm.
and the excitement
Mm-hmm.
and the feeling. I mean, it's not really a Final Four in Europe if there's not an Israeli team in there because we bring the last championship when David Blatt was coaching in
Mm-hmm.
2014.
Mm-hmm.
We beat the Russians in the 7.5 final, and
Mm-hmm.
we beat Real Madrid in the finals. We
Mm-hmm.
had over 10,000 Israelis and Jews from Europe that came to support our team.
I know it's
When
crazy.
we came in to play the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, I did the promo with Isaiah Thomas when he was coaching.
Yeah.
And I told Isaiah, I said, Isaiah, don't get nervous or sad if 18,000 people in the stadium are going to be cheering for Maccabi Tel Aviv and not for the New York Knicks.
That's
But at
funny.
that time, he says, don't worry, nobody's cheering for us at this time anyway. But anyway,
Right.
but
But do you re-
we
do you, do you remember that moment though, Tal? Do you remember being in Israel in 1965, that first trip, and just knowing that this was going to this changed your life coming to Israel and being there, and
Well,
you know,
I never, first of all, I never had regrets. I mean,
uh-huh.
that's one thing, but
Yeah,
I never really looked back because you never have a dull moment in Israel.
right.
We even played it, like in my basketball school. I mean, they didn't want to give up the practices, so kids would come with their gas masks when the Iraqi war,
Oh my
we
God.
didn't know if they're going to
Yeah.
be sending their missiles with gas,
Mm.
and we kids were coming with gas masks to their basketball practice. I mean, we had games when the champion golfer, what African American guy,
Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods' crew was in Israel, coaches and everybody,
Yeah.
and we had an air raid sign from Gaza, from the rockets that were coming in from the Gaza Strip from Hamas,
Uh-huh.
and we had a basketball game. None of the 10,000 people didn't want to leave the stadium. They wanted to make sure that they see the whole game.
Israelis are a
So
different breed, man. I got
it's
to
a
tell you.
it's a different breed. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
for sure.
You know,
Absolutely. Well, Tal, let's go back to the most amazing moment. One of the most amazing moments in the history of the game of basketball, obviously, was 1977 when you led Maccabi Tel Aviv to the European Cup, Champions Cup championship, beating the Soviet Red Army team CSKA Moscow, which
right.
had all these Olympians on it that had won the controversial gold medal and the whole thing. Um, and you uttered that famous quote. Now Israel is on the map, right? Which I've read many things and talked to Danny, and it just came. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like Neil Armstrong, one step for man, one step for mankind, whatever he said. But that moment, Tal. I mean, first of all, you guys, to say you were underdogs is an understatement. But going into that game, was there any doubt that you were going to win that game in the locker room? What was the locker room mood like that day?
Well, first of all, nobody thought that we even had a chance to
Uh-huh.
win that game.
Yeah.
As you said, we weren't playing only the Russian team. We were playing the Soviet Union team that took the best Doncics like from Slovenia and the
Yeah.
best Jokic's, from
Hmm.
Serbia
Right.
and from 20 satellite countries, and they put all the best players in the Soviet Union into one
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And they also were the team that beat the United States team in
Yeah.
that game where three times they took the ball
Yeah.
back and
Travesty. Yeah. Yeah.
up to today they didn't take the medals for second place, the guys on
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
US team at that time.
Yeah.
So nobody even thought in their mind that they can beat the Soviet Union
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And I see for many years he passed away, Sergei Belov, the captain of the Russian or the Soviet team at that
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
And I said, Sergei, you had a better team than us.
Hmm.
How come you chose Virton, Belgium, and a gymnasium of 500 people only
Yeah.
that could, be at the game?
Yeah.
You lost your advantage against us.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he said that there was a Politburo, the politics decided they didn't want, in case Israel would win,
Hmm.
that Israel would beat the Soviet Union because they were the advisors. The Russian
Hmm.
army was the advisors of all the armies that wanted to take us off the map.
Hmm.
So anyway, that game was enormous for Israel. There wasn't a person in Israel where that wasn't tuned to their television or radio or
Yeah.
didn't come to the game. There were more people outside than they were inside.
Yeah.
The atmosphere was in a 500 seat stadium, 498
Yeah.
were rooting for us, waving Israeli flags, singing Avenu Shalom Aleichem Am Yisrael Chai, and our spirit just went up. Oh, it was like adrenaline just pumping into us.
Yeah.
Now, Sergei said his team, they were so shell shocked
Yeah.
that they couldn't even start. When the game started, they didn't know where they were. Whether they knew that they didn't fly to Israel, but this is like Israel. You're in
Yeah.
Israel,
That's crazy. That's
And
incredible. And
now,
let
so
let's
when we won the
yeah.
game,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody, you're not supposed to run out to the floor.
Hmm.
Everybody just ran out to the floor. So within that excitement,
Yeah.
because living in Israel, this is 1977, so living in Israel already 10 years
Hmm.
and feeling how the world relates to Israel and relates to the Jewish community and whatnot,
Yeah.
it was just something with the American team, with the US, with Billy Walton and the US team. We beat the Russians
Yeah.
in 1970 in
Yeah.
Yugoslavia, in the former Yugoslavia, but with an Israeli team coming in
Uh-huh.
and winning against the Soviet Union, best players in the Soviet Union, it was exceptional.
Yeah.
And that's when it came out of my heart. Israel was only 30 years from 47, 48 to
Right.
1977, 30
Right.
years from the country was created. And
Yeah.
here we're beating the Soviet Union. And
Yeah.
so all that just bursted out of my heart that we are on the map. We're staying on the map, not only in sport, but in everything.
And incredible,
And
incredible. I mean, let's
and
not forget the climate. I mean, because our listeners might probably a lot of them don't know what was going on at the time. But you're playing a Soviet team that was arming your enemies that were trying to obliterate
Exactly.
the state of Israel and the Jewish people off of the map, off of out of
Exactly.
existence. So it
Yeah.
had so much more significance politically, than just a basketball game. The game was, like you said, the game was moved to Belgium because the Soviet Union did not recognize Israel. They would not allow their team to go to Israel. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, what a
They wouldn't let
charge.
us go to Russia.
Yeah, right. What a
Yeah.
charged atmosphere, man. And then then you had a great quote. You said that it was bigger than you. Like the victory was bigger than me, is what you said. And of course that led to everything we've talked about the growth, the dynamic growth of basketball in Israel, but how basketball became sort of a rallying point for the country, in good times and
Hmm.
bad times and difficult times. Um, do you ever feel a burden from that? Like all of that sort of on your shoulders? I mean, from talking to you and reading about you, I can't imagine that. But at some point, Tal, did it ever feel like, wow, this is like too much from one guy to take, to be responsible for all of this?
I all the time felt that. I knew that I
Really?
knew
Did
that
you?
I knew that so much
Interesting.
depended
Yeah.
on my ability, but as I said, I had a great coach in high school,
Yeah.
good coach in college, and I was tuned in that way of taking responsibility and leadership.
Hmm.
And I knew that responsibility was on that shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's and the only thing that changed on that moment or that what we're talking about is when about 3 days before the finals in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, my dad gets a heart attack in
Hey.
Trenton, New Jersey. And but I knew that the whole country is depending on me.
Oh my
And
God.
I
Yeah.
went to the president Shimon Mizrahi of Maccabi Tel Aviv, and I told him, Shimon, look, we have 3 days, but I have to go to see what's happening with my father. I just
Yeah.
can't go. And went to the States quickly, went to the States, got into JFK, went to Trenton, New Jersey. The doctor said he's still in intensive care. Another day. I waited another day. He opened up his eyes and he's saying to me, like, what are you doing here? You have
Oh
to
my
be, he
God.
knows that. And the doctor said, okay, another hour or two, you can go back. I went back, and here I got a gift because I made the right decision, I believe.
Yeah.
When I got to JFK, the girls at the airport said, there's no ticket waiting for you.
Oh
And
no.
Maccabi said, there's a ticket going to be there.
Yeah.
So I called to the station. I asked if I'd speak to the station manager. Now, the guy, when I'm speaking to him, the guy says, after I said I have to be there, I thought he wasn't even listening. And all of a sudden he says, tell me, you were with the USA team when you beat Cuba, Australia, and Czechoslovakia in the pre World Championship in
Uh-huh.
Sarajevo.
Yeah.
And I says yes. And you got a MVP vase? I said yes. And he says, you know what? Don't say a word. He took my hand without a ticket. We went all through JFK Airport, and he puts me on the JAT, Yugoslavian Air Transport, and I got to Belgrade or I got to just
Yeah.
in time
Oh my
in
God.
order to make the game. Can you
Oh
believe that?
no, I
That's
can't. I mean, first of
I
all,
mean, tell you.
I did a
So
lot of
that
research for this interview, and that story never came up. So that's an incredible story. And your dad survived? I mean, he was okay.
My dad
Oh,
survived.
oh,
Yeah,
God
my
bless him,
dad
man.
survived.
What a
I would have
story.
never
Wow.
forgave myself, even if we would have won
Yeah,
the
of
European
course.
Championship,
Of course.
of not going to him in his needed hour,
Oh
And
man,
I'm
that's incredible. Tal, a couple. I'm mindful of your time, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I have one question I have to ask you, man. So, what do you think would have happened to you in your life if you decided not to go back to Israel? If you had gone back and become an NBA player, have you ever thought that through, or is that just not you and your personality
no,
to think
well,
what if?
I'm
Yeah.
realistic when I'm thinking about it. As I say, the NBA in 1965
Yeah.
with Wilt Chamberlain getting $100,000 and then Bill Russell in his
Mhm.
80th birthday, I saw at the NBA All-Star Weekend, Dr. J and Magic Johnson and
Yeah.
Kevin Smith was doing the interview,
Uh-huh.
Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille. They asked Bill, what some of your best moments in the NBA? He says, when Red Auerbach raised his salary to $101,000 to be the highest paid
Right.
player in the NBA, and this is a year.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a year, not a month. A
Right.
year,
Not a
and
game. Yeah.
and so this
Uh,
was the NBA, but still a dream as a kid. That was my dream.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
brought
Yeah.
up during the Oscar Robertson time and the Bob
Mhm.
Cousy Boston Celtics time.
Mhm.
And the NBA was a dream of a Trenton, New Jersey kid.
Right.
And but I saw what I changed it for, so I don't have any regret,
Of course. Yeah.
And I could have been another player in the NBA, and
Uh-huh.
it's but I don't think what I have accomplished here
Hmm.
in that period of time, I won't change it. I won't
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
If
Of
they
course.
say, Tal, if you can change it, you go to the NBA, you make a 10-year career or whatnot, will
Hmm.
you change it?
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think I would change it even for the money that I got today. You couldn't get the dreams and the that I have of thinking back, the nostalgia and everything. And you have to understand that 77 championship was only 4 years after the Yom Kippur War.
I know.
We
I
lost
know.
we lost over 2,700 soldiers in the and young soldiers
Of course. And the
in
70
that war.
and the 72 Olympics, the tragedy there. So yeah, of
The
course.
tragedy in the Olympics. So the
Yeah.
country was more or less still in mourning.
Hmm.
And to see the appreciation, because what basketball did to take people all of a sudden into the streets, and it wasn't
Hmm.
Independence Day, it was a basketball game,
Yeah. Yeah.
and into the streets celebrating and releasing themselves from the sorrow and whatnot. You
Yeah.
don't, it's hard to say you don't exchange those type of moments.
Oh, I love it, Tal. Um, One of the great, Bill Walton, of course, and one of the great speakers in the on the map film is the great David Stern, the late
Of
commissioner,
course, of
your
course.
dear friend, my boss. We called him Uncle David back in the day, before the NBA became this gigantic worldwide corporation. Um, do you have any David Stern story? Do you have one David Stern story you could tell me that maybe people haven't heard before? Because,
Well,
David was just such a figure and such a character and such a warm, wonderful guy, but he could be tough too. And how did you guys relate to each other?
well, first of all, great. He first of all, he it was because of him that we, for about 15 years, if not 20, coming into the United States and playing
Yeah.
all the NBA teams from the Knicks to the Nets up to the Lakers and the Clippers and
Hmm.
all the teams around that he agreed to do that in
Yeah.
that part of thinking about globalization.
Hmm.
And also, we're prepared if the NBA is thinking about going into Europe.
Hmm.
He gave me the plans to take back to Israel to change our stadium,
Mm.
that it will be ready to be one of the teams within that globalization
Ah.
NBA, thinking about NBA Europe.
Hmm.
Israel will be, because of the interest of Israel all
Hmm.
over the world and
Yeah.
what we bring into the stadiums and whatnot.
Beautiful.
And so David Stern, so he was a friend, and we would meet, we would go to breakfast, and we would meet in his office from periods of time and whatnot. But there was one occasion
Yeah.
when there twice came to Israel,
Uh-huh.
and during the basketball season when we had the Final Four in Israel, and I took him and the delegation. They had Kim Mahoney and Brooks Mead from the international division that did an unbelievable job as far as making basketball a globalization sport for him.
Hmm.
And Adam Silver was, of course, they're tied together, and Adam continued the job right on after David.
Yeah.
And so we had a meeting with the president of Israel at that time, Ezra Weizman. So I saw they had a big delegation. So I let everybody go in, and I stayed outside. And then the president of Israel says, "Well, didn't Tal come with you?" And they said, "Yes." So he stopped everything. he sent his the fella from the army that's all the time with his assistant,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they call it Shlish. And when I went in there, and so we had a meeting with the president of Israel, and then David asked me, "Tell me, can I meet with Natan Sharansky?" You know, and Nathan
Mhm.
Sharansky, he was a parliament guy and one of the fellas from Israel that's very known that during the time of Russia that they had the movement "Let My People Go,"
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and he's one of those people that 9 years he was in jail in Siberia because he wanted to go to Israel.
Mhm.
And his only request in Israel was that he wanted to meet Nathan Sharansky. Now, when he met Nathan Sharansky,
Uh-huh.
he gave Nathan Sharansky an NBA, you know, that it's made out of basketball. This
Like a full,
bag,
yeah, bag.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so this bag, when Nathan Sharansky went to a meeting in Egypt of all the prime ministers and ministers and everything, all of them he wanted to exchange the bag to get an NBA bag from him. So all the years
Yeah.
he would remind David Stern, I would remind David Stern, you know that bag that you can get at the NBA store on Fifth Avenue, you gave it to Nathan Sharansky, and he became the most popular diplomat in Israel. You
That's
know,
hilarious. The
he's
power of
uh,
NBA merchandise. Yeah.
unbelievable, unbelievable,
Oh, that's a great
unbelievable.
story. Tal, we could go on, and I maybe next time we'll do it over a meal or something here in the US, or God willing, I'll go to Israel. But your
Well,
your service to the country, because of basketball, but because of you, everything that you did post retirement from basketball and business and in politics, and now being the goodwill ambassador for the country through the game of basketball is just so inspiring, and it's just more than the game. And it just gives me goosebumps just to think about one person having that kind of effect on an entire country through the game that we all love, and it's just it's inspiring, man. That's all I can tell you.
well, thank you. I enjoyed the interview, and
Thank
I
you.
have to say, you brought us a lot of luck now. We're already 5 o'clock until
Hey,
45 minutes. We didn't get any missiles,
come
ballistic
on.
missiles from Iran.
Yeah.
My wife and I were in and out of the safe room all night. When we're in the street, we have to find a bomb shelter. And
Hey.
here I'm talking to you for 45 minutes and no sirens,
Yeah.
quiet. My wife said, "Tell me," she asked Andrew to call all the time, you know. And
It's the magic touch of Legends of Sport, my friend. Um, well, listen, Tal, all I can say is that myself, Legends of Sport, wish you all the best of success. And I don't want to say luck because it's not luck. You deserve to be in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to be there, and I will be there in August when you're up there on the podium making your speech.
Well,
I
it's
wish I had a
September.
vote. I wish I had a vote. I'm in the Hall of Fame, a Gowdy Award winner in 2018, but I wish I had a vote because I'd vote for you, pal. But listen, Tal, I really we can't thank you enough for taking this time, and it's just so nice to sit and talk to you. And I've heard so many great things about you from so many people, including our mutual friend Eric Rubin, who's the head of
Oh yeah, Eric
Project.
is doing a nice job. Project
Yes.
Max.
Yeah, I'm now an ambassador for Project Max, so we're trying to find the
Oh,
right time to come to Israel, which I'm sure we'll see you.
yeah, the
Yeah.
NBA veterans, they're still coming, you
Yeah.
know, over the years.
Yeah.
It's been great. The delegations. NFL football legends are coming.
Yes. Yes. No, Eric's done a great job, and I'm proud to be part of that. And yes, God willing, at some point we'll all be able to convene in Israel and really bring the message back to the U.S., which is really the mission of Project Max, is to fight intolerance and anti-Semitism and bring the correct messaging back to the U.S. because there's been so much misinformation, as you know, mostly on college campuses. So I'm proud to be part of Project Max and that mission. So um,
No, they're really great. I enjoyed the interview. It's
thank you,
nice
Tal.
going back in history,
Yeah,
you
man.
know.
Come on, that's what we do over
Yeah,
here at Legends of
that's
Sport.
no, it's really nice.
Thank you,
Even
Tal.
when Roger Staubach and Joe Montana,
Yeah.
and even Jimmy
Jim
Brown was
Brown.
here.
Right.
So from time to we're getting guys coming in from the legends, and
Yeah,
it's great.
absolutely. Well,
Every time I touch my screen, that means there's a missile attack, but not in Tel Aviv
hey,
right now.
Tal,
We'll
come
probably
on.
get ours later, but
Well,
we're
listen.
getting the notices all the time.
Oh, yeah, I know it's horrifying. We're watching. I'm waking up to. We're hearing it all the time. My wife and I have the news on. The entire time we're home. It's just fright. And then of course, there was this whole thing last week about Iran launching missiles into California from some fakakta ship out in the Pacific. I mean, who the hell knows what's going on? But it's just it's wonderful to see you, meet you more formally, because that one time we
Thank
met
you.
was very brief. But I do have the photo, and we will share that photo in the podcast. And
Okay.
I'll send you the links to all of this, Tal.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
thanks, and be well. And how many grandchildren do you have, by the way? How many?
13.
13. God bless you. That'll keep you busy.
I'll tell you, that's the reason I think, like my wife and I are usually going to the All-Star weekends,
Yeah,
and we had the invitations from the NBA and everything. Everything was
sure.
fine.
Yeah,
But then all of a sudden the country started to be on alert, and
yeah.
we're the only country in the world when there's a war, people
Mhm.
want to get back to Israel, not to
Right.
go away from Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
And we knew that if something starts when we're at the All-Star weekend,
Hmm.
we're not going to be able to get back to Israel. And so with the grandkids here and the children here,
Sure.
family and friends and everybody, everything is here.
Yep.
We want to be here in case something happens to one,
Mhm.
to be here at that period of time. You don't
Of
want to
course.
be away.
Of course. Yeah.
And but it's very difficult to get a plane back to Israel that in these type of periods of time.
Yeah. I was talking to Danny yesterday, and he's working 24 hours a day trying to get his wife and daughter back. They're in Israel
Oh,
right now.
they're still here.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, you
still
can't.
there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sending
Well,
all the good thoughts and prayers for him and his family and for you and everyone over there. Um, Tal, can't thank you enough, man. Thanks for coming on
okay.
and
No,
being
good
so
to
much
see
fun
you.
to
Good to
talk to.
talk to you, and
Yes, sir.
we'll be
Yeah,
meeting. We'll meet.
absolutely. Absolutely. My best to you and everyone there in
Thank
Israel.
you.
Okay, stay safe. Bye.
Righto. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It was an honor and a thrill to chat with Tal Brody on this episode. I only got to meet Tal once at a screening a few years ago of Danny Menken's wonderful film On the Map. I am hopeful the next time we meet in person will be in Springfield as a member of the Hall of Fame's class of 2026. Our best to Tal. Thanks again to Danny for helping to set up this interview with Tal. Thanks also to our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this episode of the podcast. You know how much we appreciate all our loyal followers. Please tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport, and our Instagram at Legends of Sport, and my photography on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Folks, please check out the discount link in our social media to our good friends at Mugsy. We absolutely love Mugsy's clothes, and so will you. And the discount link to our friends at You Should, the best way you should protect your skin for work, play, and everyday life. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you next week with another great episode of the Legends of Sport podcast.